Hey folks, welcome back to Macro Crazy, where we talk about everything related to macro trading. Anyway, tonight we're going to do something, a quick video. It'll be a little bit different. I'm going to talk about basically potential flashpoints in 2023. And, ultimately anything geopolitical, anything, that happens, war or whatever, could, flow down and impact investments. So it's worth looking at. It could inspire ideas. And anyway, I hope you found it useful. Okay, number one is Serbia. If you remember back to the 1990s, there was a war in the Balkans. Serbia obviously was a big player in the collapse of Yugoslavia, and obviously a lot of ugliness. And then there was a second war, I guess you can call it, in the Balkans, where I think NATO attacked Serbia when they were fighting Kosovo. Kosovo is semi-independent, I guess you can call it, although Serbia doesn't recognize them. And there's still, like 250,000 Serbs in Kosovo. And, Kosovo is trying to force them, I think, to only have I don't know what you call them, Kosovan license plates or something, some issue like that, and the Serbs want to use Serbian license plates. What seems like a minor issue now could cascade into more trouble. The Serbs feel obligated to protect their kin in Kosovo, and some people, so-called experts, who knows, feel like war is inevitable there. The UN or NATO has people on the ground there in Kosovo. So a lot of players could get ugly. I don't consider this one too likely because Serbia already knows the consequence of going against NATO. So, but should be on your radar, and it's right next to the EU. Okay, moving on. The border between China and India, there's been a couple of, I guess you could call it unarmed, like no guns battles between Chinese and Indian troops. And there's a lot of tension there. If you are of a certain age, you might remember there was a war between China and India in the 1960s, which China won handily. So, China is kind of a wild card. You never know with communist nations. And they might want to distract from, what's going on with COVID lockdowns and economic slowdowns or whatever. But again, two nuclear powers doesn't seem like very likely. I think China is more focused on Taiwan. So, but they're obviously pushing the tension at the border for some reason, maybe a distraction. Something to keep in mind, but I don't consider this one very likely as well. Speaking of Taiwan, obviously this is where China spends most of its thoughts and energy when it comes to foreign policy. It does not recognize Taiwan as an independent nation, and it seems, determined to bring it back under Chinese control. So this is a national security issue for the U.S. because most of the chips that are used in our technology is from China, from Taiwan. So, this is where things could get out of control real fast. Even though it's two nuclear powers, you have a rising power in China, you have a mature, power in the U.S. that's kind of on its back foot and probably getting weaker. So historically, a rising power and an established power, they will butt heads sooner or later. So this is the one to watch. May not happen, and certainly it's very difficult to call whether it will be in 2023 or some other year or never. But again, there's an incentive on both sides to get involved in something. So we'll have to see. Okay, the next one is Iran. This is going to more involve Israel rather than the U.S., although if war breaks out between Iran and Israel, it's entirely possible that the U.S. could get dragged into that. How it could start, any number of ways. Obviously, Israel is determined not to allow Iran to ever get nuclear weapons. So, if they feel like Iran is close or has crossed the threshold, They may attack. They may do preemptive attacks. They may try to make Iran pay for some terrorist attack somewhere, supporting Hezbollah, shipping arms to Syria or, Lebanon. So any number of paths for that. Should be no surprise on the last one. It's Ukraine. Obviously, there's an ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia. But NATO, the U.S. in particular, seem intent on escalating in whatever ways they can. The latest move is to provide Patriot missile batteries to Ukraine. Those have much longer ranges, which could reach deep into Russia. And we have to trust the Ukrainians not to escalate with that new technology. There seems to be a lot of paths. We're inflicting heavy casualty into Russia. I can't imagine they're pleased with that. Both big nuclear powers, obviously. So, these are kind of black swan kind of thinking. Anything could happen, but again, should be on your radar. Even if it's not true, rumors of this kind of stuff could swing prices wildly. So for any of the five. So just pay attention. You can look at exports, imports, companies that are dependent on sales to those regions or that export from those regions, if, those are publicly traded companies. Anyway, try to do something different tonight. It does, relate to macro trading. I hope you found it useful. Let me know in the comments, like, subscribe, and, we'll see you on Wednesday night.